Okay? And here, you get to push the button on the side there. Oh. My name is Luka, and I've been a registered nurse for over 30 years. And all of my experience has been in hospitals. Throughout my career, I have instinctively used methods and ways of working with people to help eliminate their fears, especially when they come into a medical environment. Medical environments can be extremely intimidating to people. And what I've learned to develop, which has just been a natural gift for me, is how to help people through that, how to diffuse those anxieties or fears that they have, and not only in adults, but also specifically in children as well. So don't be afraid of the fear. And the phobias are the same. When we go to phobias, you know, everybody says, well, yeah, they're not just afraid, now it's a phobia, right? And it always goes right back to, how do you feel about that? Oh, it's a phobia. Well, that's different. That's a lot more fear. That's a lot harder to work with. And my recommendation to you is, do not take that posture. My recommendation to you is that they have the same resources as anybody else. That's my experience of people with phobias. I have seen people break through 9 years of phobia within 10 minutes. And it's just because you don't give them, you don't buy into their fear. You don't stand next to them and agree with them. Now, you're not disrespectful and discount it, but your posture is that there is a better way. You weren't born with this phobia. You didn't come into this world afraid of sharp-pointed objects. Somewhere along the way you learned that. And somewhere along the way you can unlearn that. And all of you can be agents for these people. Each one of you, you can be an agent for these people. Teach these people how it doesn't have to be that way. You can break through this. You can conquer it. Children are so amazingly willing to give up their fear and trade it in for something else. With adults, I find you have to work a little bit harder in getting them to drop that barrier, to kind of loosen up on their ego stronghold and be willing to try different things. And they certainly will, but children will hand it over to you in a heartbeat. And I think that's where most of the lessons for adults come from. I've learned a tremendous amount from children. And they're the greatest teachers to me. I think they have more to teach adults than adults realize. Now, kids can out-imagine adults anytime, any place, anywhere. They put a small dot on a blackboard in first grader's room and said, "What's that?" One little boy said, "A small universe." Somebody else said, "Oh, that's a black hole out in space." Some other little boy said, "That's a telephone pole." And the teacher said, "All right, come again." He says, "Yeah, but you got to look at it from the top down." They put the same dot on a blackboard in an adult's room. What did they say? It's a dot on a blackboard. Exactly. I wanted to write a book for a long time, and I think that incubated within me probably for several years. And so the title of the book is Helping Children Overcome Fear in a Medical Setting, a guide for healthcare professionals. What started my process, it was through peers coming to me and asking me, how do you do it? And so this book is my effort, a step-by-step process, incorporating a holistic number of things, the words that you use, your initial approach, your intention, the law of expectations. There's 14 chapters in the book. It includes some techniques. And it's just my sharing of what has worked to help children not develop a fear, not develop white coat syndrome where all they see is a white lab coat and their fear kicks in. Pain is subjective. Pain is subjective. I have had coworkers say, "Rob, sticking a needle in a wound hurts." What do you mean telling kids this is going to be easy? You're lying to them. No, you're not. No, you're not. Pain is subjective. It might hurt you. That may be your paradigm. That may be the way you want to experience it. But I promise you, these kids are willing to try a different way, and so are many adults. Usually adults are a little harder, you know, because they almost appear like they don't want to give up something valuable, or you're hurting my ego if you take away my perception. That's my perception. How dare you take that away? You don't have that barrier with kids. Kids will give that up to you. They'll give that away to you. I was approached by one of my peers who is a nurse as well, and she said, I've been engaging some of the techniques and stories and methods of approach that you've shared, and I've found it definitely makes a difference. And the feedback I'm getting from many healthcare professionals is how it is for them. It's not so much methods and things that you do, it's how you're holding yourself. So rapport is a huge tip. Get them to like you. Bring them a coloring book. Sit down and color with them. I was with a 3-year-old one time in the emergency room, and I walked into the room, and she was 3 years old, and she was just crying her eyes out and yelling and screaming and crying. You know, one of those ear-piercing kind that you just hate to hear. And I walked into the room, and guess what happened? It got louder. You know, it got louder. And so I turned around and left. Not because I was afraid, okay? I went to get a coloring book. I got a coloring, and I sat down next to her, and I just started coloring. And she's screaming, and she's crying, and I turned the pages to find something that I wanted to color, you know. This is on job time, right? I'm coloring. Turn the page and coloring. What happened? What happened? Did she grab a crayon and start playing? She stopped crying. She grabbed a crayon and started coloring. All I wanted to do was create a non-threatening situation. I want her to like me. I'm not the bad guy. I want to do everything I can to help you find that place within yourself. When your words that you speak and the eye contact that you make and the nonverbal communication that you present are all in line and they're all sending the same message, it's a very, very powerful message. That's mostly what the participants can gain. Do you know how empowering it is when you take somebody scared out of their mind and you flip that around, and they will do anything you ask, within reason, of course. They'll follow, they'll cooperate, they'll face their fear squarely. Once you see that, you can't go back. Once you see that, you know that you have, all of you have this ability. It doesn't take anything special. You have more power than you realize sitting in that chair right here and now than you can imagine. With all your patience, no matter how afraid, no matter what they show you, you have an ability to get in, communicate, tap into those resources, and change the way they respond. I would love to come and speak to your healthcare organization and share with you those 35 years of valuable experience that I've learned, not only in working with children, but in working with adults and turning difficult situations around and making them very positive.